Okay, so welcome to another edition of Authors Speak on the Real Talk with Real People Podcast Network. I am your host, author Caroline Bethea-Jones, and my co-host is author Renee Marshall McKinley.
Yeah.
And our guest today is a licensed psychologist and the author of her first children's book, Where the Lost Things Go, according to a big girl, about a girl who learns how to manage her emotions after losing her favorite shoe. I so love that. And we're going to talk about that. We really are.
Right.
So, Sarah has worked in the area of trauma and abuse for almost 2 decades. And she is here to share her story, her book, and to help people understand the impact of the fashion and interior design industry on our wardrobe behaviors and our interior design choices. So please help us welcome Sara Seung-McFarland.
Seung-McFarland. Yep.
All right. Woohoo, woohoo. Okay, so now that we got all that particulars out the way, we could just have our candid conversation, which is what me and Renee love to do. We just
Yes.
love to candid conversations with our guests. So, Sarah, how are you?
I am fine. I'm so happy to be here with you two energetic ladies. Thank you for having me.
You look very energetic too, doesn't she? She looked like we
She is.
Okay.
She is. When she and I met, she and her husband were just buzzing away at trying to make sure the table was set up properly and just doing all
Yes.
things. She was buzzing.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. So, Sarah, I particularly want to dive on in. And before we start talking about your book, which is already to me sound like it's going to be a joy to read, tell us about your self as a psychologist, because see
Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
interesting. I'm interested. You got me intrigued. I'm intrigued.
It's been a long journey. So when I was a teenager in high school, adolescence was very challenging for me. So I wanted to be a psychologist because I wanted to help young girls manage that very challenging, difficult stage. And I could have picked anything else, right? But I don't know. I just was really interested in understanding why people do what they do. So I stuck with that. At the same time, though, I was always very creative. I love fashion. I love interior design. I didn't quite see a path there at that time.
Mhm.
So I went forward with traditional psychology. So I majored in psychology and English. Then I got my master's degree in educational psychology. And then I got my doctorate in counseling psychology from Seton Hall University. Now, that was a very long process because I didn't get into the doctoral program right away. So I had to keep trying for a couple years. But thankfully, I got in by the grace of God. And then I pursued trauma and abuse, and I kind of fell into it because I knew I wanted to work with children and, adolescents. Like I said, I didn't know exactly how. But the way that my path went, I just kind of fell into the trauma and abuse space.
Wow.
So I started I worked at group homes with boys who had behaviors. I worked with girls who had behaviors, and I started doing evaluations. So I do psychological evaluations, which is the meat of my work. But I've also done therapy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly I do psychological evaluations. So I do them for case management organizations. I don't know if you've heard of the Dorothy B. Hirsch Child Protection Center. I've done them there many years, and also for the Office of Public Defender. So, and then sometimes I have to go to court. So it's very intense work.
Yeah, it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to understand, trying to put the pieces together. I have to do all of these interviews. I give testing to try to, the psychologist's work is explaining different factors for why behaviors are occurring. Like if I see a youngster or youth and he's in a particular situation and he's finding himself in trouble, I need to figure out what are the factors that contributed to that. I do a lot of work around that. And, doing those evals, they do take a lot of emotional energy because I put myself into it, and I realize I'm helping somebody. I'm helping a kid that may not get this kind of help anywhere else. So I do put my all into it. So needless to say, it is very intense. So I was saying before about this other creative side of me. I was always interested in fashion and design, and I didn't see a path.
Uh-huh.
As I was doing this work, I was getting unsettled. Like I was helping and I knew I was helping, but it wasn't enough for me. So I was like, I need to do something that's a little bit more creative. So then I
Sure.
did a bunch of research and I just kind of stumbled into, found this whole thing called fashion psychology. Then I found design psychology. And so I realized that there was this whole area of psychology that I wasn't familiar with and wasn't taught. So basically, fashion psychology and design psychology are using psychology to help people like create wardrobes, create spaces that support
Wow.
well-being. So there's like a lot of research on how, well, you can really find research on anything related to psychology because psychology is so broad, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of research on like how fashion impacts us emotionally, how spaces can trigger traumatic reactions or they can
Wow.
modulate us, things like that. And I was really interested in that. So I took a year-long mentorship in design psychology. So teaching me like how to do what we call environmental biographies. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like helping people understand like their past experience with place. So it's kind of like I've been doing these evals, but these very traditional psychological evals. And then I just switched and did these environmental autobiographies, which are also an assessment, a form of assessments.
But
Um,
first of all, just to
Yeah.
hear you put those two together, fashion and therapy together,
Yeah.
yeah.
you would not think
Yeah.
that that's a thing.
Yeah, it's not widely known and it's up and coming. But in other countries like in Europe, they have whole fashion psychology
I
programs.
can see that. I can,
Yeah.
now that you're talking about that, that's a whole thing. I can
Yeah.
see that happening for sure in Europe, in that
Yes.
space, in that place.
Yes.
I can see that.
So I want to
Wow.
bring that here. I want it to, I personally just want to do that work. I just love the idea of putting those two things
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Wow.
hmm
Yeah. I love it too. What I
Yeah.
love about it, Sarah, is when you talked about your creative side and that
Yeah.
part of you that was creative. I know in the same way when I was going through my studies as well, because I have my doctorate in theology, but I
hmm
also have a great love of the arts.
Right.
Yes.
Trying to find a way to incorporate my love of the arts with the music and the drama and all the stuff, and then try to connect that with the theology stuff was,
Mm.
challenging, but it was something that I wanted to do because I wanted to marry like you. I wanted to marry my career with my creative side, the thing that I
Mm.
loved. And it sounds to me, that's what you have done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now
And
see,
go ahead.
no, you go. You go.
I was just going to say, like I said before, psychology is so broad. You could really mix it with anything. You can mix psychology. I
Yeah.
mean, there's art therapists.
Yes.
You could mix it with any other discipline,
Yeah.
It-
creative discipline. Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of people probably would not make that connection, right? You're
Yeah.
hmm
just, when people are being creative, they're just fulfilling a need inside of them. It's just, okay, I want to go do this. I want to go do this for whatever reason, but not using that as a therapy. But for
Right.
me, I just recently, not recently, in 2020, I lost my dad.
Mm.
And I wanted to, and I love my dad. I love my dad. I love my dad. But after he passed, another creative side of me came out. I wanted to do fashion modeling pretty much. So I founded this group called Bells in Bloom, where women, children, girls of all ages come together and we take photos as we're dolled up. We glam up and take these glamorous photo shots at different locations by my daughter. But in the sense now that I think about it, that has become a form of therapy
Yeah.
Yes.
because we feel better about ourselves once we see as we're going through it. So as we're going through it, selecting our clothes and deciding what we're going to look like, and then when we're coming together, connecting with the ladies, and then even the end result, to have the finalized picture in your hand, I could see that being therapeutic.
Yep.
But I would have never thought that was therapeutic before speaking to you about it.
Yeah, I know of
Something
this.
fun to do.
Yeah, I know of this one woman who had cancer. She struggled through cancer and she's
Mm-hmm.
going through treatment. And she decided to use that grief, that pain that she was experiencing, and she decided to use it by taking pictures. So
Yeah.
using it in a creative way through dress. So
Yes.
she got outfits together that expressed how she was feeling.
Yeah.
Like I think she was in one of the images she's wearing like something red and it represented like the anger. And
Uh,
it represented like all the different stages of grief that she was going through. And she
yeah.
had a photographer and took pictures, and then now she's doing, I think, an exhibit. So it's
Yes.
kind of like what you were saying. It's a way to manage some pain that we're experiencing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
that's in all of the arts when you use all of
Yeah.
the that reason
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So Sarah, I want to
Yeah.
talk to you also too about you recently opened up a vintage clothing shop.
Yay.
Hey, let's talk about that. It's called Trulery, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So I've always shopped vintage because, well, it was out of a need because I didn't have a lot of money when I was younger.
Good.
But I also just love the idea of finding unique pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think like how can I, do something to kind of like something new for my business.
Mm-hmm.
Because I offer a service, but I wanted to do something like something that was really
Yeah.
creative. So I decided that I would curate vintage clothes,
Mm-hmm.
which is like obviously that's part of the vintage store. But the kick is each piece comes with some fashion psychology insight that helps people wear the clothes better. So like
I
that's
love it.
so like it might come with like some research that said something about that piece, like whether it be like texture, pattern, color. Like I have this mood booster dress and it's yellow and it tells you all about the impact of yellow. Color is complex. So,
Yes.
it depends on people's experience with yellow, but it just kind of gives you just a snippet of how to wear it if you want to wear it the way that it can give you the best feeling or make you feel the best.
Mm-hmm.
I think it says something like, because yellow can create a sense of anxiety. So if you're having like a high anxious day, you probably don't want to wear that. But it also makes you feel good. It's optimistic. It's you typically associated with that. So when you're having a low stress day and you want to feel optimistic, put on that yellow dress. So something like that. So every piece of clothing has like just a snippet of research to help you wear it that much better.
That's interesting because
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna circle back again. So
Yeah.
with the bells and bloom, I always try to say save some money and shop vintage. We grew
Yeah.
up thrifting, and that is I love thrifting. My daughter loves thrifting, so I always tell people shop thrift first before you
Yes.
spend a lot of money. But it's great that you add the extra component to it.
Yes. I love the styling. I try to style it for people and things. So it's really going into my creative like niche, my creative like juices.
Love that. Love that.
Let's continue and talk
Yes.
about the connection between dress and emotional health. You did
Hmm.
a couple of interviews about that, right?
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk
Yes.
about that. Wow.
Well, dress is really more powerful than I think that we give it credit for because it's something we do every day. So sometimes it just feels like just the other thing that we have to do. We don't really always think too much about how it's impacting us,
Yeah.
but um it definitely can impact us emotionally. Um and it can reflect what's going on for us emotionally. So, there's a lot of research that talks about um, how how dress can impact our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
the way that we think. It can impact our emotions, and it
Mm-hmm.
can impact our behavior. Like there was a study done called, I don't know the name of the study, but the concept is enclosed cognition.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the idea that when we're wearing a piece of clothing that is symbolic
Mm-hmm.
or meaningful to us, we actually take on the characteristics of that thing. So I think
Yeah.
they had subjects wear like a white lab coat, and and something else or their own clothing. I don't remember the exact details of the study, but the ones that were wearing the white lab coat actually were more attuned to the activity that they were given to do. So the results showed that it can alter or impact our cognitive functioning. So it is powerful, and sometimes it reflects what's going on for us emotionally. So for example, somebody has body image issues. They might be wearing oversized clothes to hide.
Or black, right?
Yes, or yes, whatever they feel hides them.
Yes, I see you, Caroline.
Yeah.
Cut out.
so if you were my client, I would work with you around that. One, to kind of figure out where these issues are coming from, and then two, try to figure out um, what what is it, what are some of your goals, what are you that you're looking for, and then try to curate a wardrobe around that. So but I do want to make the distinction is the work that I do with the wardrobe consulting isn't therapy, it's therapeutic. So even though while I'm a licensed and I can do therapy, that's not what that work is. So like if somebody does have body image issues, I would want to know if they're actually seeing a therapist to work on that, because then I would work alongside with that therapist. What are you doing? What are some of the goals? Oh, how can we curate a wardrobe that supports what you're doing there? So the work it's different. It's not actual therapy.
I know getting dressed
Yeah.
or trying to get dressed for an occasion, a special occasion, can be stressful.
Yeah.
Right? Because oh my God, it's so many colors, so many this, so many that, and then you gotta dwindle down to saying, okay, this is it. And even when you made your final selection, are you then still comfortable with the selection that you've made? So clothing, although it's fun and freeing and all that kind of stuff, it still can be stressful.
Yeah, choices can be stressful.
Yes.
But so then that's why it's important to really start to think about what you like, why, and then you curate a wardrobe that is suitable so it's not as stressful. And it's interesting you talk about getting dressed up. Studies show that when you do get dressed up, you actually are sharper cognitively, because it's kind of like there's a distance between you and others, because you feel a little bit more proud. You walk a little bit
Yes.
higher, so
Yeah.
you are a little sharper.
Yes.
So unfortunately, you have to sometimes stress to get to that point.
Yes.
But if you start to curate a wardrobe that works for you, you might be less stressed. So that's a process.
Sure.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can see how that makes sense.
Yeah.
To Renee's point, when you get dressed up with, I mean, even what she's doing with Bells in Bloom, when you get dressed up, you feel a different sort of way.
You're somebody.
I know that I dress according to my mood. Today I'm not feeling all that great, which is, I'm looking like a mess because I feel a mess.
You feel fat. Yeah, you look good.
But I think dress and the way we dress and the clothes we wear plays a really, really big part. There was a time, and you might be able to help me with this, where I wouldn't wear certain colors. And I wouldn't wear certain colors based upon my own insecurities about my darkness. And yeah, that was a long time.
Yeah.
But then I began to experiment with colors and started to see the different, like if I wear blue, blue is like my favorite thing to wear
Yeah.
because blue looks great on me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but then I started experimenting with other colors like the reds and the yellows and the oranges, which I always thought, oh, I'm moving into a territory where it's so uncomfortable because my dark skin. But that also was a process. So I think that you would probably work with somebody like me
Yes.
to find out where all that comes from, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, like what you mentioned about you don't even going back further to what you mentioned about you don't feel so great today, so you're dressing the way you feel. That's actually therapeutic too. Just because you feel badly and you dress to sort of soothe yourself, that's not a negative thing. That actually could be a very creative thing, particularly if you work it that way. Like, I'm not feeling so great today. I'm just going to dress in jeans and a shirt. but then you kind of feel good in those jeans and a shirt, and it's reflecting how you really feel. So it's taking pain and applying art or using art to like make you feel a little bit better. So that's not actually a bad thing. That's actually a therapeutic thing. And then in terms of like, use it, not staying away from certain clothes because there's certain parts of your identity or your look that you don't like. That's not uncommon. Most of us have issues with something, and then we try to dress hopefully the parts that we do like, or not over focus on the parts that we don't like. However, that doesn't mean that those issues should be ignored. So like if you realize you're staying away from colors and there's a pattern of doing so because there's parts of yourself that you don't like, that's a signal. That's like, okay, wait, that's a big deal. Maybe that's something that I should look into. Why are there parts of my identity that I don't like? Hopefully that's the work that you would be doing once you start to put that together. How can I be more appreciative of who I am, what I look like, and it's fine to be at that spot.
Sure.
Nobody's like 100%. I'm perfect 100%.
Right.
But while you're in that process of trying to like figure yourself out, trying to find yourself out, what's happening during that process? Are you like beating yourself up? Are you tearing yourself down? Are you not wearing clothes that you would normally wear? So the idea is that like you can be working on yourself, but you don't have to like stop everything. You can like I said, dress the parts that you do like until you start to figure out some of the identity issues that you have. Like it's the idea that we're all a work in progress, but things don't have to stop. You don't have to like deprive yourself. There's certain ways to frame things so that you don't feel horrible. Like, okay, so like say I'm still having, I have issues with my skin, or I don't like my skin color, so I stay away from certain clothes, and I'm working on that. Okay, so maybe I should just since I'm working on it, let me figure out what I can do as I'm working on it.
Right.
So I stayed away from yellow, huh?
Yeah. Like don't focus on that.
Yeah. Or so I don't wear yellow because I'm afraid that it might look bad on me. Let me just try this yellow. So hopefully that as you're working through, you're starting to open yourself up. Well, maybe I didn't like that yellow, but this yellow is a little different. This has more gold in it. Maybe I'll try this yellow. So it's about moving. So I'm no longer at the point where I'm just staying away from all yellow. Now I'm trying to move towards like opening myself up to that color because I'm working on it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's about like doing the work and then moving a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like I'm not well and I'm messed up today, but tomorrow I'm gonna be fine. Like there's always a process, and the process is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that was clear, but
Very, very clear. And right. So I do try every color that my eyes visually like. I do try every, and like you said, I follow that rule. Maybe this color red is not the color red that looks well on me, but maybe I can try another color red or a color purple or whatever. So you understand that.
I was just gonna say, and also now, like the healthier you get, the different there's a difference in actually what you're saying. So like now it's not like I stay away from this red because I hate my skin color. Now it's like, oh, I just think this looks better on me, and I still love my skin color. So that's the movement.
Okay, so let's talk about your book. Let's talk about. Okay, I'm reading here. You said it says here in your experience. It says your ability to turn formal scientific writing into a relatable and entertaining story is your sweet spot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your sweet spot then.
Okay. So in school we write like peer reviewed type reports and articles, which is fine because that's how it is in school. But I wanted to be able to write for the lay person. I wanted to be able to write for people who maybe don't know the lingo. Because I think that's one of the reasons why you become a helper anyway, to help the people.
Yes.
So that's one driving force for like why I kind of want to write in a relatable way. I've always my love of writing goes way back even before I was in school. I wanted to write for children and teens. I always saw myself like writing entertaining books.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so I took a course actually. I took a course on writing for children and teenagers. Took me a while to get through it, but I got through it.
Okay.
And then this book is the result of that.
Wow.
So, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I want to write entertaining. So I didn't want to write books that were too teachy right up
Yeah.
front. I
Yeah.
wanted to write like entertaining that would like draw the kids in. Like the
Right.
book that I wrote was like kind of enchanting, kind of magical, but it's teaching a lesson.
Sure.
And so when I say like, turning scientific writing, I like to hide the science part in the story.
Yeah.
So, because I've also, besides children's books, I've also written, like, I've done a lot of freelance work. So,
Okay.
writing for different sites, like fashion sites, design sites, those types of
Yeah.
things.
Mm.
So, I couldn't write like very scientific.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you were writing it for a certain age anyway, right? So you wanted to make it less teachy, although the teach is there,
Yes.
more so the kids could grasp onto what you're
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Right.
And then also, you know what? It was important for me to write books that, especially if the book is being read to them, that
Mm-hmm.
an adult would find entertaining. Like that
Yes.
was important to me because, when your kids are like, "Can you read me a book?"
Right.
Sometimes your adults are like, "Oh, I don't want to read that one."
Especially nowadays. I don't want to read that book again.
I know. I
Cut
want it
that.
to be a book that they like. Yeah.
All right, so tell us about the book. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the name of that book again. Where
Yes.
Yo, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it is based on a true story. I had actually forgotten that it was because it's been a while. But my daughter, when she was really little, she lost her gold shoe, and we just could not find it anywhere. And it was actually a favorite shoe, not just for her, for me. It was like my favorite shoe for her. And I'm like, where is this shoe? And we just couldn't find it. So that kind of sparked the idea for the book. So it's about a little girl who
Yeah.
she loses her shoe, and it's an important shoe. So it kind of shows like how clothing can have like a emotional impact. But
Sure.
besides that, um she has to learn how to deal with the frustration of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so she goes and starts looking for the shoe. She tries to be a big girl, quote unquote, about it. But
Yes.
development doesn't happen evenly.
Right.
So while she could be a big girl in one thing, being able to handle this frustration, it was harder for her to be a big girl. So that's why I tagged it according to a big girl.
Yes.
So where the lost things go, according to a big girl. So as she's looking for this shoe, she's finding other things that she lost.
Ah.
And then she imagines where they've been and she comes up with these crazy ideas, which
Oh.
that's where the magical part comes in. So
Yes.
she finds other things, but she still doesn't find her shoe. And then she's having a party that day. She wanted to wear the shoe for the party. So right there, she has to figure out what is she going to do? Is she going to continue to fuss, or is she
Yes.
going to get herself together
Yes.
and have the party? So these are life skills. When you have issues in life, the life is not going to stop for you. Are you going to
Right.
have a pity party the whole way, or are you going to get yourself together? So that's
Yeah.
kind of, and then, at the end of the book, she doesn't find her shoe.
Oh,
But
okay.
you know what? It's okay.
Oh,
And she
Yeah.
learns how to use it. She imagines where it's been, just like she did with the others.
yes.
And she moves forward. So you're not always going to get what you want when you want it, but it's okay.
It's okay.
It
I
has to
love
be
it.
okay. Yes.
I love
I
it. And I remember when you were explaining it, right? Because we all
Yeah.
had to go up and do a quick intro about
Yeah.
her. And I was like, oh God, I got to make sure that I get her information because we have to have her on the podcast. Because I
Yeah.
thought it was just a sweet concept of
Yeah.
Yes,
teaching how
the age.
to
What is
grow
the
up. Yeah, you gotta grow up a little bit. Sometimes
Yeah.
we don't find what we're looking for, and it's a disappointment. But how do we move forward?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
And eventually my daughter did find the shoe, but it was like a year or two later. She couldn't wear it. But you see, I mean, like
She
life
grew.
happened and she
Right.
found it.
Yeah. Wow.
How old was she during this time? What's the age?
It had to be like, oh, that shoe. So it had to be like 2, 3. It had to
Oh,
be like, yeah. Or it could like it was about 3, I would say.
yeah.
About 3, yeah.
Well,
And yeah.
well, how did you cope? Because obviously you wanted her to wear that
Yeah.
shoe that day. So,
Well, let's just say I'm the little girl in the book.
yes,
I'm the little
okay.
girl.
Because that's what I really heard you say. I wanted her to wear that shoe.
Yes. Yeah.
That's exactly it. You wanted her to wear that shoe.
Yep.
So mommy was disappointed
Yeah.
with that shoe.
So, adults and children have to learn how to deal with their emotions, but
Yes.
children are just learning that for the first time. But adults, sometimes we still don't have it together.
We don't have it together. Because a year later, I'm sure you said, where was that shoe?
I really love that. I love that concept though.
Yeah.
Because little kids lose things all the time.
All the
I'm
time.
Yeah.
me what the age was because my granddaughter was 3.5, and I know that she's at that stage where everything has to be perfectly where she left it.
Yes.
Mhm.
She'll ask me, where is my this or where is my, and I'll say, and where did you leave it?
Yes, right.
That's my first question. Did you put it where it belongs? Because if it's lost, then I want to know what you did with it.
Didn't have it. You're not putting that on me. I didn't have your stuff.
So I think that would be a cute little book to read with
Yeah.
her. So this is your first book, right?
Yes. And
Um,
it was important for me for the little girl to be of color, but the book not be about that.
Sure. Yes.
So
Mhm.
I like that. Like it's just sort of representation,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Representation matters.
Yes.
I believe that everybody should be represented. Little
Yeah.
girls, little black
Yeah.
girls read about little black girls' adventures.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And in the same way that we're reading about little white girls' adventures or Asian girls' adventures, or it doesn't really matter. What
Right.
we
Yeah.
just make sure that we're all inclusive and
Yes.
that there's an connectivity there to show how we are all connected. We all have the same feelings. We all do the same thing, but you need to see yourself
Absolutely.
and
Because you can aspire to something, more when you can see, oh yeah, she did it. I can do it as well.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, quick question. So, how does your daughter feel? Because when you talk to your daughter about after you wrote the book, did you say, okay, this is you? This is
Yes.
you. So, how does she feel being written about?
So yeah, she knew because Tabitha, her name is Tabitha, and the girl in the story is Tabitha.
Yeah.
She doesn't say how she feels about it, but I can see that she feels proud. I can see in just the way that she, she's made some reference like, did you tell him it was me that was in the
Right.
like so she, she's aware and
Yes.
it has impact.
Yes, it does.
So
Because she's what? How old is she now?
10 now.
Yeah, because I was gonna say she's not a little girl.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, so she's very
Yeah.
Is there another children's book out there that is there
Well,
another?
I haven't written one yet, but no, I shouldn't even say it that way. I have written, it's not published. So I do have stories,
Oh.
but I haven't published them yet. I've sort of switched gears because I want to publish a fashion and design psych book. So not for necessarily for children, but case studies. So it will be on like 6 or so case studies on how fashion and or design impacts these characters. It's not going to be nonfiction. It's going to be fictional, but I'm going to use like real life psychological principles to talk about them. So that's in the works. But yeah.
So wait, so let's just
Yeah.
segue back for a second because
Yeah.
on this show we talk about publishing and how you got started and all that good stuff. So let's talk about it. So starting with your illustrator, how did you find an illustrator? Let's talk about that process.
So, when I took this course that I mentioned, they're very much about getting published by traditional publishers. Like That's all I heard about. And like
Right.
you have to keep what is it when you pitch? You have
Listening.
to
You're
keep, yeah,
pitching.
pitch. You have to keep pitching. And I was doing that. I did that for a couple years.
Did you? Okay.
And then because they made me feel like, it was less than if I did it
Yes.
any other way. So I'm like, I got to try to find a traditional publisher.
Sure.
It wasn't happening for me. And I'm like, so do I just forever just never publish a book?
So
So
Yeah.
let's
I
pause.
started to,
Let's
huh?
pause right there for a second.
Yeah.
So you were sending out letters, and were you just getting rejected, or were they just not picking it up, or like what happened there?
Probably a combination of both, but just
Yeah.
rejection after rejection. And I've sent in a few things that got rejected. And then I started wondering is it, I mean, you hear people saying this or that, and so you just wonder like it's changed so much. It's like now if you have an audience,
Yeah.
that's if you'll get picked, that's one of the ways you'll get picked up because it's so audience driven now.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, I think it was less like that before, the internet and all that stuff. Um
So you
so
had to pitch, right? So you were getting
yeah.
rejections, and then what happened?
And so someone actually said to me, "Have you thought about self-publishing?" And I was like, "Huh." I was like, "Not really, but I may have to go that way."
Right.
And that kind of planted a seed. So then I got hooked up with an editor, and
Okay.
um then the editor helped me through like a lot of the preliminary stuff, like editing my manuscript, making sure it's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Even before I got that though, what did I do? Before I got the editor, I got the
Oh, yes.
illustrator. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm mixing it up. So no, I did get the editor first
Oh,
because
okay.
she like edited my manuscript and
Sure.
everything. Then I got an illustrator. So I had to find an illustrator that captured my vision because the editor didn't quite have my vision. And if I
Sure.
had went with her, the book wouldn't have been the same with what she
Right.
was saying. So I wanted my book to feel alive and to
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to go find someone that could capture that.
Yeah.
So I went on, what is it, Upworks?
Yes.
Upworks.
Yeah.
And I found one. Like I didn't know if I was, I didn't know what that was the first time I've ever done that.
Yes.
And it worked. I'm like, oh, she did what I wanted her to do. So I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is, and she actually helped me really a lot. um,
Mhm.
so I did that. And then I found another editor to kind of help me upload everything.
Okay.
So the first editor, she tried to do it, but she hit roadblocks. So
Hmm.
there was a lot of kinks in that process.
Yes.
But then I found somebody else who really could help me with that. So I found that second editor who helped me upload it, and she did all the things, uploaded it to all the sites. Um, and also I found a publisher in China that published the hardcover book the way I wanted to do it. So Amazon, so the second editor got me on Amazon and all the other sites. But there's restrictions. So
Yeah.
that first page, which is the inside cover, like
Yes.
I have mine is patterned. The illustrator made it so that there's a pattern there, but Amazon only does a blank white page.
Right.
So I wanted it to be more detailed. I wanted it, I wanted it to have that on it. So that's when I went to China. I mean, I found a publisher in China and they published it the way I wanted it. So then I ordered a bulk copy and that's what I sell, the hard copy. But you could also buy the hard copy online as well, but it just won't have that extra detail.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
thank
Yes.
I want to thank you for saying that particularly because
Yeah.
that right there is a very important aspect of publishing. When you are a creative,
Mm-hmm.
you want your creativity to shine through. You don't want somebody else to turn your story or your creative um, um, view into their own. And I think that is a struggle that most creatives have with, okay, well, I could take it to an editor or I could take it to this person, but they're going to strip everything that's me out of it to make it more commercial. And when you are uh, adamant about wanting a certain thing, you want to make sure that you're going to the people who are going to give you what you asked for. I'm grateful that you brought that up because I know our first author of the year that we spoke to, was very concerning about that as well. He was like, I didn't want anybody to remove all the elements of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm grateful that you brought that up because you're going to find that in a lot of creatives. I want my creativity to come through. I don't want you to turn me into everybody else. I'm not everybody else. And I want to be different and I want what I want. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a quick oh God, I got a tickle in my throat. Got a quick question. So you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned earlier that you had an editor initially,
Mm-hmm.
and that editor then tried to upload the information and it didn't work. But editors, and I'm just trying, and I'm not, I don't know all the terms myself, but editors don't necessarily do the uploading process, right? An editor is supposed to read through, in my mind,
Yes.
through your book to make sure that the wording is flowing correctly, right? So this person, the second person, they were
We kind
doing
of
work
lost what you
beyond it.
said, Renee.
They were doing work beyond editing to me.
Okay. Yes. So the first editor, and I'm calling her an editor because I believe that's what she said she was.
Uh-huh.
But she presented it as if she can do all of that, and I think maybe she has done it for other people. But
Uh-huh.
maybe for my particular illustration, it wasn't working. So
Mm-hmm.
this I have to actually go and look and see that the second editor, what she calls herself.
Yeah.
I'm calling her an editor. She might have a different name. So
Mm-hmm.
that's you make an interesting point. I will maybe go on and see, but she basically like edited for me. Like she just made sure things were right.
Right.
Um, when she was uploading, and she could also make
Right.
sure that
Okay.
that stuff was uploaded.
And I'm just trying to get a clarification
Yeah,
because our audience
yeah,
know
yeah.
the because we like to speak to newbies. This is a training podcast, right, Caroline? Right? Make sure
Yeah,
everybody knows some of the terms and things like that. So
yeah,
we love to get the intricate details that someone might have struggled with, that another person
yeah.
might have struggled with, so they can learn both sides of it.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look her up and send you
Yeah.
what she
Uh,
calls
Oh,
herself.
sure. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Thank you. And see, Caroline might always ask the crazy questions, right? So,
no, it's not that. You were going in and out. Maybe
oh,
my
sorry. Could you
internet, I
explain?
don't, yeah, we were having some internet issues. I didn't hear a word you said, first
Oh,
of all. But you
Sarah, did
sound
you get me? Sarah, you
I heard you. Yes, I heard you.
okay.
I don't know if it's going to come through since my computer is actually being the one that's recording
Right.
it. It may
So,
not. So
so let me just ask my question again. You can hear me well now or no?
yeah.
Okay. So just to recap quickly, Sarah had mentioned that initially she had an editor who could not then upload the information to the site the way she wanted it to. Then she got a second editor who was then able to package everything together and upload it. And my question was to Sarah is that was that person actually how do you define an editor? I said I don't really know all the terms, but I thought an editor was just the person who reads through your manuscript and makes sure that your T's are crossed and your I's are blah 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 dotted. But and then somebody else, has a different term that would be the person who formatted, typeset it. That's what I'm looking for. Typeset it would be the person who uploaded it to, get it printed and things like that. So that was my question to her to kind of
Yes.
clarify the two.
So the
Okay.
second editor definitely was able to do the formatting.
Mm-hmm,
Well,
mm-hmm.
even though the first editor was trying to do it and said she could do it too. So
Uh-huh.
I will go and see what that second editor, what her exact title is, and I will email it.
Okay. And what I was also saying, Caroline, this is a teaching podcast. We want to make sure everybody can learn and know the term
Yeah.
as possible. So I think we caught up now.
Absolutely. We talked about traditional printing. We also talked about self-publishing, but I wasn't clear. Did you self-publish this book or did you find a traditional? You said you found a publisher in China, right?
Yeah, so I self-published this book. I'm sorry, I said a publisher in China. No, a person to print the books.
Okay.
To print the
Okay.
books, yes.
Yeah.
I self-publish. Sorry, yes.
Great. I'm glad you
Yeah.
clarified that. The same
Yes.
with my printer. I sent to Canada, so my books were
Okay.
printed in Canada. It's the same way. I self-published as well. So I just wanted to verify those
Yes.
things. Okay, so Renee, is there any other questions? Did we miss anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about illustration because it's a children's book. We talked about the how does she publish? Those are our main points, right? Um, we talked about so I do have another question. So when you ordered your books, do you then also order only from China or did you order from also bulk books from Amazon as well? Because you said she uploaded to Amazon.
So, people can purchase my books on Amazon, but with the books that I carry with me to sell are the books from that got printed in China, only because I like those better because
The
they have
hard
that extra detail. The
God,
hard
nice.
copy. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Sarah, we can purchase directly from you. Is there a
Yes.
website? So can
So
you give?
it's mhm. So it's Trulery, TRULERY.com. And you'll see on the navigation menu, it says kids book. That's where you could purchase it.
Do you have one with you that you can hold up?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I don't
Okay,
have it with me.
okay. We always
Okay.
promote.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is a podcast and nobody will be able to see her
Oh,
holding.
that's right.
So it won't even matter.
I was just thinking about what we did on the first one. You're right. It's just us. We're in person
Yeah.
together.
Also, can I add something?
Yes,
I also have a contributors page on my site now. So if
okay.
anybody's interested in writing on fashion psychology or design psychology, I'm offering a paid writing opportunity.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. Too bad I don't. I'm not that person, but been all on that. But not my skill path. Okay. But that's a wonderful thing. I love that. I'm going to go on the website and pull some information and also order the book because I
Okay.
think I want to order it from you, not from Amazon.
Yes.
Because that's what I want people to order my book from me.
Right,
I
right.
have all of my books in my house like you from Amazon, but I would appreciate if you just got it from me.
Hello. So we're so grateful, Sarah. It wasn't by chance that we were set up next to each other in the location.
That's
So
nice.
thank you for saying yes to this opportunity to give us, give our audience and us the little, the time that we have together so we can learn
Mhm.
about you and learn about your book and all the things
Thank you.
you got a lot going on.
Yeah. Trying to juggle it.
And I love it. You do got a lot going on, but it
Yeah.
was so interesting. You're a very interesting person, and again, I'm going to say I love how you are able to, and I hope others are encouraged to do the same thing, to do what you love, and also do what you love in the sense of creativity, and to be able to bring it all together is a beautiful thing.
Thank
And I know so many of us want to be able to do that and don't quite know how. But I'm going to encourage individuals to keep trying because you really
Mhm.
be able to blend what your heart's desire is with the work that you do on an everyday basis. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you so
you. All
much.
right. So you've been listening to Authors Speak from the Real Talk with Real People podcast network. I am author Caroline Bethea-Jones, and my co-host is author Renee Marshall McKinley. Our guest today was Sarah. I'm gonna get your name wrong, Sarah.
So it's
Sarah.
Seung-McFarland.
Okay, Seung-McFarland, because I said that all the way wrong. So, and we're grateful that she's here today. And so, you can purchase her book from her at trulery.com and just go to the section that says kids book and purchase her book. That's how we support our authors here. That's how we support one another. And so we're going to ask me and Renee are going to ask you to support these authors that come on Author Speak. Until next time, we'll be back with another author. Until then, listen, just keep reading and keep listening because we love you. Okay?
Bye.